you can blow a lot of money.
News, weather,
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12 o'clock on this Monday, the third day of the second month. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. Our top story this hour, tariffs on Mexico have been paused for now. ABC's Karen Travers says this comes after President Trump and Mexico's president talked this morning.
President Trump announced he's pausing for 1 month his planned 25% tariffs on all products coming into the U.S. from Mexico. The announcement in a social media post comes after the president spoke to Mexico's president Monday morning. She said Mexico will reinforce its northern border with 10,000 National Guard troops to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the U.S. The president said Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick will hold negotiations now with senior Mexican officials.
And tariffs against Canada and China are still set to go into effect just after midnight, and there are concerns about what you might pay for things should those tariffs happen. Stacey Lynn on what prices you could see going up.
The U.S. gets about 30% of lumber from Canada, so that means new home prices could rise. We also import a lot of agricultural products like meat and grains from them, so expect an increase there as well.
And she says fresh produce like avocados, strawberries, and tomatoes could also go up in price. Mostly sunny and 70 this afternoon, so how's the rest of your work week looking? We'll have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast coming up at 12:05. New information this noon on a story we were covering in Atlanta's Morning News, a deadly crash on I-85. It happened after one driver stopped to help another stranded motorist.
A single-car crash on I-85 northbound near Chamblee Tucker Road. The driver exits the vehicle and is soon joined by a second driver who stops to offer help. It is then that a third vehicle strikes both motorists, followed closely by a fourth vehicle, unable to avoid the wreckage, crashing as well. Police tell WSB the driver involved in the initial crash was killed, while the second person who tried to help is now in critical condition at a nearby hospital. Possible charges and identities of those involved have not been announced as the investigation continues. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
From DeKalb to Gwinnett County now, where police have charged a big rig driver in a hit-and-run accident that happened on January 28th. Investigators say the driver of the tractor-trailer, 31-year-old Christian Barrier of Alabama, was trying to change lanes on I-85 near Pleasant Hill Road and caused that crash. He never stopped. The driver of the car impacted called 911 to report the hit-and-run. He was not hurt. Then Barrier has turned himself in now. He's been charged with hit-and-run, improper lane change, and reckless driving. The funeral service for Cornelius Taylor underway at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Raphael Warnock speaking.
Brother Cornelius Sean Taylor is one of us. He is a part of the family. There are no strangers in the community of faith.
Now, Taylor was killed after he was crushed by an Atlanta Public Works vehicle as they were clearing a homeless encampment. Later today, the Atlanta City Council considers legislation to pause homeless encampment clearings. We will be watching. New this hour, Georgia House Speaker John Burns has unveiled what he calls a comprehensive package on school safety legislation. The bill calls for a statewide database to share information about students and would create an app also for people to report concerns anonymously. This comes on top of the $50 million in one-time school safety grants. Another man with Georgia ties has been identified as a victim in last week's mid-air collision in Washington, D.C.
Lieutenant Colonel Brian Ellis was a passenger on the American Airlines jet that plunged into the Potomac River after colliding with a military helicopter. That's according to the Baltimore Banner. The 53-year-old Ellis graduated from Morrow High School, where he was a star quarterback. He's also a Naval Academy grad. Ellis most recently lived in Virginia. He's survived by 2 sons.
WSB Cheryl Castro reports 2 others with Georgia ties were previously announced among the dead. A first officer on the American Airlines flight and the Black Hawk helicopter's crew chief. Some terrifying moments aboard a United Airlines flight headed to New York Sunday. It slammed to a halt just before takeoff with an engine on fire, smoke flowing into the cabin. Kelsey Davis was on board that plane.
People were screaming. There were people jumping over the seats trying to get off the plane.
All 104 people evacuated safely. No injuries reported. This is new at noon. The U.S. Department of Education says Forsyth County schools no longer have to act on book bans from the Office of Civil Rights and has dismissed 11 federal book ban complaints.
It's about validation. Superintendent of Forsyth County Schools, Mitch Young, says the county was told by the Office of Civil Rights that its banning of certain books may have created a hostile environment. But now the Department of Education says the Office of Civil Rights should have no role in the matter.
When you see that it has been totally dismissed, but there's some level of validation that you get from that we didn't think it was merit-based to begin with.
Young says they have a good process in place to decide what books belong in school libraries. Lisa Nicholas, 95.5 WSB.
All right, let's check your money here on the lunch hour. It looked really bad earlier at 10 o'clock this morning. Markets were way down. They're still down, but it's not as bad. The Dow's down 166 at 44,377. NASDAQ is currently down more than a full percent, and the S&P's down more than a 0.5% here on your lunch hour. It's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Hey, Sabrina, right now, checking on new trouble in Gwinnett County, 85 southbound, getting real stacked up, approaching Gravel Springs Road, exit 118. We're going to check on that. Traffic Trooper Pierce says trouble in the right lane in Sandy Springs, 285 westbound, the outer loop between Roswell Road and Riverside Drive. Also, this is on 285 in DeKalb County. The ramps from 285 in north and southbound, both slow ramping onto I-20 eastbound there in DeKalb due to left lane construction on that collector distributor ramp as you approach Wesley Chapel Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
It's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored by Shoemake, the official heating of winter. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Sunny skies today with highs near 70. That's trending about 15 degrees above average for this afternoon. Clear and cool for tonight, lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 74. A mix of sun and clouds on Wednesday. Morning low 50, afternoon high 75. Mostly cloudy on Thursday and Friday with a slim chance of an isolated rain shower. Morning lows in the 50s, daytime highs in the low 70s.
63 degrees in Midtown Atlanta. We'll have more news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
0, all engine running. Lift off, we are the liftoff.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, everything else. Hi, Mark Arum. We got to talk about what I was talking about with my buddy Mark Arum on his program just a while ago. Mexican tariffs have paused. I want to actually have a grown-up discussion with you about tariffs. Let me explain them, what they are, why you do them, what the outcome is, and why people should think differently about Donald Trump. Markets went down today when they opened in response to the tariffs. It was foreseeable it was going to happen. Markets don't like tariffs. So what is tariffs? Tariffs are part of protectionism. We live in a globally integrated economy, and tariffs are a way to deintegrate or disintegrate global ties, largely to protect your own industrial base. A tariff is a tax paid by consumers who buy products that come from abroad. Donald Trump believed at one point that the tariffs were paid for by those countries on which he imposes tariffs. That's not actually true. You pay the tariff. You pay the tariff in the form of higher prices. See, the countries don't pay tariffs. What happens is the importer into the United States, whether it's Walmart or your local grocery store or Home Depot, they pay a tax on the good being imported from abroad. They then raise the price to cover the cost, and that goes to you. In many cases, contrary to what a lot of the most hardcore free marketeers say, you raise a 25% tariff, your prices aren't going to go up 25%. Why? Because a lot of times companies will eat into their profits to lower the burden on the consumer to stop them from walking away. So the price increase goes up, but not as much. But you wind up paying most of the tax. Do understand that. Your costs go up. Power companies in the north, and this is a problem for Trump because some of its swing states like Michigan and Wisconsin, they get their power in some cases and natural gas for their power plants from Canada. He's imposed a 10% energy tariff on Canadian energy exports into the United States. And so people this morning in northern states are actually getting notices from their power companies to expect rates to go up. Not necessarily good politics in swing states. But let's also remember what Donald Trump does, because Donald Trump is different from other presidents. He operates differently. The tariffs are a negotiation tactic. Now, let me explain. In this country and in other countries, the way prior presidents have tended to work is they get the State Department to go to another country and say, we'd like to begin a conversation about making some changes, and here are the changes we want, and we would like to enter into a working group with you to consider those changes and negotiations, and 3 years later, maybe they come up with something. Donald Trump doesn't do that. Donald Trump says, I'm going to impose a tariff of 25% on your country, and here's what I want to get rid of the tariff. Donald Trump announced his tariffs on Mexico this weekend, 25%. They go into effect tomorrow. Today, the president of Mexico has agreed to send 10,000 troops to the American border to help secure it in the fight against fentanyl, and the president has said he will pause the tariffs for, I think, 6 months to reassess. And he's declared victory. Now, I'll be real honest with you. 10,000 Mexican troops who are probably in the pocket of the Mexican drug cartels is not really a win. But it looks like one, and he'll take it. And his supporters will declare victory, as they should. He got the Mexican president to admit the fentanyl crossing the border is a problem and to send soldiers to the border. The problem is those soldiers are probably in the pocket of the drug cartels and are going to be helping pass the fentanyl across the border. But for now, looks like a win. The Canadians, on the other hand, they're in the midst of an election. Last night at a hockey game in Canada, everyone started booing the American national anthem, something that hasn't really happened regularly in Canada. Booing the national anthem. The Liberal Party there is Justin Trudeau's party, and it's been on the verge of collapse. Trudeau is an unpopular figure there now, and he has decided to step back. The Liberal Party will be finding a new leader who will become prime minister in the run-up to elections. Pierre Poilievre is the conservative opposition candidate. Donald Trump imposing tariffs on Canada helps the Liberals against the Conservatives. The latest polling in Canada since Donald Trump started threatening tariffs has the Liberal Party going from a 25-point deficit to a 2-point deficit against the Conservatives. They've rebounded. Justin Trudeau and whoever replaces him gets to look strong and defiant. They've imposed a reciprocal 25% tariff on the United States. We'll get hurt by our tariffs. They'll get hurt by their tariffs. The Canadians don't care right now. This is a matter of national pride. Trudeau politically is helped by refusing to concede anything to Donald Trump, as will his replacement. And meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre looks unimportant. So we risk losing a good trading partner with a new conservative government in Canada with what's happening. Maybe the Canadians will, before I'm off air today, fold with some show of force, or show of face, rather, but the Mexicans have. The Chinese will see. I personally think we should have 25% tariffs on China. I'm not opposed to tariffs on China. Now, there's the other side of tariffs you have to understand. The thinking of those who support tariffs is that if you make it more expensive, this is where the protectionism comes in, you make it more expensive for a foreign nation to send goods into this country, what happens is you rebuild the domestic manufacturing capability of the country. There are undoubtedly things we should be making in this country that are being made in China right now. Vaccines, medicines, microchips, weapons, products for weapons. We are so dependent on China for our military supply chain, it's absurd. We do need to redomesticate that, and yes, it will be more expensive, and that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that as we redomesticate industry, the cost of building in this country is more expensive than the cost of manufacture in China, Vietnam, India, and elsewhere. Why? Because Americans expect a higher wage. There are more regulations. There are labor regulations. There are worker occupational safety regulations. There are lots of regulations, and those regulations and the demands of labor and unions in many states drive up the cost of doing business in the United States. It's one of the reasons we outsource so much to begin with, is because we could get stuff far cheaper manufactured abroad and sent home. So you raise tariffs abroad, what's going to happen? It could ignite a manufacturing sector in this country. It could spark more manufacturing. The problem is it's still going to be more expensive for you. Because what's probably going to happen is, let's say the tariff goes up 25%. The cost of manufacturing only goes up 15%. Well, you're still paying a 15% increase. That's inflationary. It's notable over the weekend Donald Trump changed his tune on the Federal Reserve. Last week, Donald Trump was very insistent the Federal Reserve should continue lowering interest rates. As he headed towards tariffs, he started saying, maybe a pause is good. The reason is because we got to factor in tariffs. Tariffs are inflationary if they go into effect. They're going to go into effect in Canada tomorrow unless the Canadians fold today. But again, it helps Justin Trudeau politically to not fold. The president of Mexico gets a symbolic gesture of sending 10,000 troops in the pocket of the drug cartels to help us secure our borders. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I do think, however, everybody's got to remember that Donald Trump just operates differently. He speaks loudly and carries a big stick, and he wants concessions. He is smart enough, and this is important for everyone to understand, Donald Trump is smart enough to know who he can't wield the stick against. Notice he imposed a 25% tariff on Canada and a 25% tariff on Mexico, but only a 10% tariff on China. China is actually the bad guy. China is the one who should have a 50 or 60 or 100% tariff on them. Force every American manufacturer out of China. We should be doing that. But Trump is more gentle to China than he is to Mexico and Canada, because they themselves have a big stick that Canada and Mexico don't. But the bottom line is that when is a tariff not a tariff? When is a negotiation tactic by Donald Trump? Look what he did to Colombia. Donald Trump told Colombia, you're going to accept your citizens back to your country who are illegal aliens in our country. Colombia said no. Donald Trump said, okay, tariffs. And Colombia backed down. He imposed a 25% tariff on Mexico. What does Mexico do? Say, we'll help you secure the border. And he backs down. Canada, thus far, not backing down. It actually helps Justin Trudeau politically to have this fight. They're probably not going to back down. Bottom line is, people are going to pay higher prices for stuff coming in from Canada. Now, some of that stuff, you do need to understand how it works out. So, groceries. I read in the Wall Street Journal, cherry tomatoes are a massive import from Canada. They're grown in greenhouses in Canada. They're imported into this country. Their prices will go up. People will shift to other things. Here's kind of the irony in the tariffs is that the people who are all in for Robert Kennedy Jr. want you to eat the outside of the grocery store aisles, the Whole Foods, the vegetables, the meats, the dairy, avoid the highly processed stuff in the middle. Actually, tariffs make the vegetables and the meats more expensive and some of the dairy, so people turn to the highly processed foods that aren't as affected by tariffs because they're more manufactured in this country. It's not going to help on that end. People will just stop eating the cherry tomatoes. But long term, here's the problem with tariffs. From a free trade perspective, I'm against tariffs for this reason. And again, I recognize Donald Trump's not really trying to impose tariffs. He's trying to use it as a negotiation tactic. But if the tariffs do go into effect, it's like a sugar high. You get a windfall of revenue up front. But then what happens is the companies, instead of jacking up the price immediately on consumers, they cut into their profits, except for grocery stores. Grocery stores have very small profits, so the increase in tariff, almost 100% of it goes to the consumers. For everybody else, though, they can pad their profits a little more. They can reduce their profit margins, but then that reduces the amount of money available to reinvest in their company. It reduces the amount of money to hire people. It reduces the amount of money to pay raises. And so over time, slows down the economic growth of the country. If you're willing to forego growth in the country to build up American manufacturing, okay. The problem is, I don't think most people are, and the Republicans now run the risk of being like the Democrats for the last 4 years, where the Democrats told us everything was fine, the policy choices were the right choices, and they were working. Republicans now can fall into the same trap. Meanwhile, there are a lot of Americans out there who just want cheap stuff. They want their 401ks to grow at a higher rate than they would with tariffs. They want cheap stuff from the grocery store and from Walmart, and they're not getting it. And they blame Republicans. Republicans risk the blame game. The good news for Republicans, however, is that the Democratic Party is still so in the care of wealthy gay men and neurotic white women. Their convention over the weekend, where they chose a new leader, shows that they don't know the path forward for themselves. Trump and tariffs may give them an argument. A lot of Democrats, though, particularly the working class, support the tariffs. Democrats don't know where to go, so Trump almost to a degree gets a pass by what he's doing right now. But if in 2 years the economy has slowed down or gone into recession because of it, the Republicans will be the ones owning it, whether they want to or not, and the public will blame them. So he does need to be a little careful here. I recognize it's a negotiating tactic, but if someone calls his bluff, he's got to impose the tariffs. And it looks like Canada wants to call his bluffs, have him impose the tariffs, and hope it wrecks our economy. So they do need to be thinking of the White House about that.
Have something to say? Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1221 Cool Bay Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center travel advisory out of northern Gwinnett County. Crash 85 southbound Gravel Springs Road, exit 118. Up to 3 left lanes are blocked. 3 right lanes are blocked there. You're already slowed back before Hamilton Mill. You can use Highway 124 as an alternate. Had a crash in Sandy Springs, was in the right lane. It is gone. 285 westbound, the outer loop before Riverside Drive, exit 24. That's in recovery mode, leaving Georgia 400. And a crash in Coweta, 85 northbound, Highway 34, exit 47, and 2 right lanes. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
He's the guy at the desk next to you.
I've got a sense of humor.
He's your co-pilot for the ride home.
The driver of this vehicle is a better human being than you are.
He's Eric Von Hessler.
I'm here to tell you the truth.
Eric Von Hessler.
Today at 3.
95.5 WSB. Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's Eric here, and with the election ended, there is change in the air. A new day dawns for American businesses. New regulations, new deregulation, new tax plan, new tax cuts. You may be smelling opportunity in the air. You may be seeing opportunity. Now is the time to consider reaching out to First Liberty Building and Loan and see if they might be able to help you put your plan that's in your head down to paper and see if they can help you capitalize on it. There's so many opportunities out there. If you need to borrow $750,000 or more, well, First Liberty might be able to help you. They make their own lending decisions. They've been doing it since the 90s. They know how to do it, and because the Frost family's been helping businesses since the 90s, they're still going to be there. You're not going to have lender rollover like you've had at other places. Reach out to them, firstlibertyga.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Spend 10 minutes with them, see if you're fit for them and then for you. FirstLibertyGA.com.
It's essential, complicated, and if it breaks, you could have a disgusting mess. Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Scorpion Septic, and the expert you hear on the Home Fix-It Show. Slow drains, gurgling sounds, or pooling water and odors in the yard? Don't ignore these symptoms. Call us today.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump-out charge with your repair. Call for more information.
Hey, Belinda here, and I have Barry Petrie, Director of Virtual Imaging. Barry has a very interesting testimonial to share with our listeners. Barry, tell us your story.
Well, Belinda, exactly a year ago when I took over my role, one of the first things I did was scan. And at the time, I was 54 years old, never had any issues, was in a good shape, worked out every day. And I was shocked to find out that I had a score of over 1,000 in my calcium. So, and most of that 1,000 was concentrated in my LAD, which you know is the Widowmaker.
Not good.
So immediately started working with an interventional cardiologist, started working with a functional medicine specialist to try to correct that. And unfortunately, about 4 months ago, I started having symptoms and rescanned, and at this point, my calcium score had gone from 1,000 over 1,500, and that LAD score had gone up to over 1,000. So, long story short, ended up going to Northside, getting a stent put into my LAD, and now today I feel great. I regained the gear that I didn't know that I had lost, and had I not taken this role as director of virtual imaging a year ago, I probably would have not known this, and I could have been one of those folks that looks perfectly healthy and drops dead.
Absolutely. Folks, that story hits home. What are you waiting for? Go to Virtual Imaging and get a complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse. Call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or visit virtualimagingatl.com. It could save your life.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals with savings beyond low prices, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump, so you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
You'll find low prices on thousands of items. The yellow and red tags mean you'll save big on sparkling ice water, Kroger brand chips, and so much more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Dave Baker here. So you're leaving for work, but the garage door won't open. Is it the opener? Is the spring broken? Now you're late and your car's trapped. Don't panic. Overhead Door Company of Atlanta is here with same-day emergency service. They won't leave you stuck. Overhead Door Company of Atlanta is the original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in Atlanta since 1935. Call 404-USA-DOOR or schedule online at overheaddooratlanta.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doorbell. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
He may not tell you what you want to hear, but he tells you what you need to hear. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
So my wife follows a rather progressive doctor on Instagram and just sent me a screenshot of this doctor's story calling for people to take to the streets to stop Russ Vought. My wife texts me. She says, why the hell does anybody think Russ is controversial? My wife loves Russ Vought. He's a longtime friend, and she's just dying laughing that this doctor thinks that Russ is some sort of nefarious, controversial person. Good grief. Hey, I got some breaking news for you. I have breaking news. Denmark is announcing it will allow the United States to boost its military presence in Greenland. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen says she seeks to curb an escalating diplomatic crisis with the Trump administration of the world's largest island. Technically, I think Australia is a bigger island, but it's a continent, it's so big. The territory already hosts an American military base that monitors space and detects missile threats, and the U.S. can have more possibilities, Frederiksen told reporters ahead of a meeting of European Union leaders in Brussels. So, another win for Donald Trump. Now, yes, so here's the other thing. It is true, someone points out, that Donald Trump seems to be using the big stick and bullying people to get his way, but at some point they may do the same to him. But the Europeans can't agree on anything, so we can take advantage of it. But this is another win. Trump's foreign policy scorecard right now, he is racking up wins. In the next hour, I intend to explain to you why USAID is a terrible organization that should be destroyed, which he intends to do. It's a great idea. But for now, the Danish are saying that we can expand our military presence on the island of Denmark, which is exactly what Trump wants, because it's a strategically important island as the Arctic becomes a major strategic point for Russia, China, and the United States. So good for Donald Trump. Reporters are begging him to take a day off. They're so busy keeping up. Now, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Gen 40 heater. It's actually in the 70s where I am today. I don't have to have it, but I can turn it on as just a floor fan, and it oscillates back and forth, up and down, and just circulates cool air because the heater element is not on. But when I turn the heating element on, it's got convection and it's got infrared. It heats up rapidly, and it can really warm up a room very efficiently, lower your power bills. It is the Eden Pure Gen 40 heater. Right now it's already on sale. You can get an extra $50 off if you go to EdenPureDeals.com and you put in the discount code ERIC50, ERIC50, EdenPureDeals.com. ERIC50 is the discount code to get $50 off. This thing, again, during the summertime, use it as a fan and just circulate the air. It has a great remote control. In the wintertime, it's got convection heating and infrared heating, and it heats up a big room quickly, saving on your power bill. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code ERIC50, ERIC50. Save $50 off already great sale price at EdenPureDeals.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. The markets are starting to recover a bit after they tanked this morning over tariff worries. The tariffs with Mexico are on hold now for a month to give time for further negotiations, and an announcement that 10,000 members of Mexico's National Guard will work to address drug trafficking and illegal immigration. Market strategist Victoria Fernandez says Mr. Trump plans to speak with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at 3 today.
I think this boils down, when we're talking about Canada, more to the trade deficit that we're seeing there. He wants to have some concessions in regards to the trade deficit. He has spoken about it consistently during the campaign.
And we'll keep an eye on that. And new this half hour, the United States Agency for International Development will be shut down, according to several sources. It will be merging into the State Department with a significant reduction in funding and cuts in the workforce. It will remain a humanitarian aid entity. Your weather for today, it's beautiful, sunny and 70 this afternoon, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast right around the corner. Funeral services today at Ebenezer Baptist Church for Cornelius Taylor, the homeless man killed during the clearing sweep of a homeless encampment in January. The Reverend Raphael Warnock speaking at the service.
Gracious God, strengthen now the broken hearts of this family as they sit where all families must sit.
This afternoon, the Atlanta City Council considers legislation to pause homeless encampment clearings. We'll be watching. The governor's office announcing a new business plans to bring its headquarters to Roswell. PBS Aerospace designs and manufactures turbojet engines. The headquarters will be located on North Meadow, and a new facility being built at the Tech Village North side in Roswell. Roswell Mayor Kurt Wilson says it's a big win for Roswell.
Today's announcement is proof that our efforts are paying off.
And hiring is already underway for about 100 positions. It's expected to be fully operational in April. It's 12:32.
Do you think you need to renovate your kitchen, but you're worried about the cost? Well, Frugal Kitchens can help you get $1 million looking kitchen for a fraction of the cost and 18 months, no interest financing available. The best part, they can get you back up and cooking in 5 days from the start of construction. Life happens in your kitchen. That's where you build so many memories. If you're like Christy and me, that's why we use Frugal Kitchens, and you can too. FrugalKitchens.com is the website. Go check them out. Don't forget, 18 months, no interest financing available. FrugalKitchens.com.
At Coosa Valley Credit Union, we're committed to offering our members the most competitive interest rates in the market. Now, auto loan rates are as low as 3.99%. Get pre-approved or save money by refinancing your current auto loan. This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union. Stop in a branch near you where you'll experience kinder banking and you'll always speak to a real person. Plus, with 11 locations, we're local and nearby in Northwest Georgia. So come see us.
Equal opportunity lender.
How easy is it to save energy and money in 30 seconds? Let's count the ways. Power down unused devices. Swap out traditional bulbs for LEDs. Adjust your thermostat for the season. Change your air filter. Move furniture away from your vents. And turn off the lights when you leave a room. Georgia Power is more than just your power company. We're your saving sidekick. Get started at georgiapower.com/energy efficiency today. Ready, set, save.
Have your previous remodeling experiences been stressful? Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. Use Exovations and get a completely different experience. We're a state licensed contractor, show up on time, provide you a project schedule, a fixed price, and your project delivered on time, on budget, and without all that stress that you usually hear about in construction. Schedule your free quote today at exovations.com.
If it's the big story, it's on 2. Channel 2 Action News this morning. I'm Fred Blankenship.
I'm Lori Wilson. Big stories are always breaking.
constantly working to bring you fresh information from different perspectives.
This is Developing Live. Our reporters are working to get you all the angles right now.
When it comes to the big story, this is always the place to get ready for your day.
Join us on Channel 2 Action News this morning every day, 4:30 to 7.
Live team coverage traffic and weather is Alex Williams.
Crash still working in northern Gwinnett County, 85 southbound, Gravel Springs Road, exit 118. Now it's in just a right lane, but also impacting that exit ramp, so you're slow coming down from the before Hamilton Mill Road. On the south side, seeing why 285 eastbound, the outer loop's gotten so slow, ramping to I-75 southbound in Clayton County. We're going to investigate that. And delays still improving in Sandy Springs on 285 west, the outer loop leaving Georgia 400. Earlier crash before Riverside Drive, exit 24 has cleared. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Blue skies and sunshine today, high near 70.
More news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, because the truth is what matters. You're listening to the Erick Erickson Show.
Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. If you would like to be on the program, I'm going to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma for the first call of the day. Brian, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Eric?
Great.
Hey, this is Brian. My name is Brian. I'm from Tulsa. Anyway, last night we had they call it a peaceful protest, and it was about 400 people, and it turned, of course, a little violent or whatever you want to call it. They blocked off the street. They started doing donuts. They started getting out of hand right in the back of the trucks. My point is this, and I'm in the construction business. I drive a truck for a living. I have 2 mixed kids. My father-in-law is illegal. So before anybody says I'm racist, I'm not. But here's my point. Okay, you crossed the border. You knew what you were doing. And this is the conversation I've had with my own father-in-law. You knew what you were doing. You knew there was a chance you were going to get caught. So my question is, why are you really protesting? Because you want me to say, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, but I'm not. And that's my only point I want to make to you.
All right, Brian, I gotta make sure I heard you right. You said your father-in-law is an illegal alien. Brian? I don't know what happened to Brian. We lost him. I sure hope his father-in-law gets along well with him. Boy, that could go south if you have a problem. But no, Brian, to your point, in all seriousness, yes. So this happened in Atlanta over the weekend, and it happened in Los Angeles and elsewhere, that they were marching down major streets, blocking traffic. We got a big one in Atlanta, Buford Highway, blocking traffic, marching on the street. We were actually in Atlanta on Saturday doing our kitchen remodeling. There's this place in Atlanta called Frugal Kitchens. We went up there to start mapping out redoing our kitchen, and we thankfully were able to bypass where the protesters were, but it screwed up traffic. And first of all, can I just say, as an aside, this is the pet peeve time. Brian, this is your fault. Here's my pet peeve. You want to protest Donald Trump's policies relating to deportation and illegal aliens. Why are you flying every flag except the American flag? There were a lot of Mexican flags being flown on Buford Highway in Atlanta, Georgia. There were a lot of Mexican flags being flown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There were a lot of Mexican flags being flown in Los Angeles as people protested. That's kind of the problem, is it not? They think that they deserve to be here. They don't. They came here illegally. They don't think they're American citizens. They don't want to be tied to the United States. That's part of the problem. And the tell is that they're flying the Mexican flag. None of these people wanted to fly the American flag. They wanted to fly the Mexican flag. If you want to fly the Mexican flag, there's a country called Mexico where they fly that flag, and you are more than welcome to go to it and fly that flag. If you're here, act like an American. That's not hard. Act like an American. Fly the American flag. If you're so patriotic, rah, rah, America, we should have these people here, you should be flying the American flag. That you're flying the Mexican flag instead of the American flag suggests to me that all of your talk about patriotism in the United States is a lie. If you can't fly our country's flag when in your protest taking advantage of our First Amendment, well, there is a country called Mexico where you can fly the Mexican flag, and you know, and I know, you won't be flying the American flag there either. Delta is ready when you are. Now, I'm going to change to something else, but I will take your phone calls, 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. This one got me this weekend. Here's what we know about the American Airlines crash in Washington, D.C. The plane, the pilots pulled up their nose at the very end. It was too late. We know that the helicopter was flying a half mile closer towards the airport than it should have been, and at 300 feet when it should have been at 200 feet. Over the weekend, I had a couple of exchanges with military pilots. They were uncoordinated exchanges. There were 3 of them, and all of them said their suspicion, based on what they themselves did as pilots in the military, was when the civilian air traffic control tried to correct them, they know better, they're the military, leave us alone. There were definitely problems at the airport. The airport has been short-staffed in the tower for a number of years. In fact, they've been so short-staffed, they had one person handling communications between landing planes and helicopters, which they're not supposed to do, but they've had to do. This isn't a problem, predated him. The real problem, however, is the helicopter. It was higher than it should have been and further to the west than it should have been. For those of you who do not fly into Washington, D.C. very regularly, let me explain the approach to you, because I do this quite a bit. The main runway for Washington Reagan National Airport is north-south. When you come in from the north side headed south, you make a series of very sharp turns because you're not allowed to fly over Washington, D.C. You fly over the Potomac, and so as the Potomac River turns, so does the plane, and they're very sharp turns at the end until you land. If you're coming from the south headed north, your approach is very straight. You fly past Mount Vernon, you go up the river. There aren't a lot of sharp turns, and as you're landing and you look out to the right, you see a military installation, and there are always helicopters flying up and down the east side of the Potomac Bank, very low. Now, that's the main runway. The American Airlines regional jet that was landing was supposed to land on that runway, and at the end, air traffic control asked if it would move to a runway that is at an angle. Instead of going north-south, it goes southeast-northwest, and it's a shorter runway. One of the shortest runways that a regional jet like that is allowed to land on. When you land on that particular runway, the pilots ferociously brake the plane, and you almost feel like you get whiplash. You stop so hard. So the plane adjusted its heading, and as it was coming down, now keep in mind that this, if you're going north into DCA, you're landing and you're flying parallel to the traffic of the helicopters going up and down the east bank of the Potomac. When you land on the other runway, the southeast-northwest angled runway, you're landing and you're intersecting the path of the helicopters. However, the helicopters are supposed to stay on the right, or it should be it's landing the right bank or the east bank of the Potomac and stay under 200 feet. So as you land, you come in over those helicopters. In this particular situation, we now know that the military helicopter was much further west in the river and higher, so it intersected directly into the path of the plane. They collided and everybody died. The helicopter, not the American Airlines jet, is to blame, based on all of the assessments at this point. There were errors made, there were bad mistakes made, even at the air traffic control, there were mistakes made. but it was the helicopter. Now, here's the problem. It turns out one of the pilots in the helicopter, there were 3 people. One of the people in the helicopter was a lesbian. Now, from my vantage point, you got 2 dudes and a female, and the female's a lesbian. You don't have to worry about her being distracted by the other pilots. No flirtation happening. But here's the problem. People on the right discovered this and immediately started screaming DEI. Remember, they were screaming DEI the other day about the FAA tower and the short supply of pilots, and now they're screaming DEI because it was a lesbian in the helicopter with 2 dudes and screaming about that. People have lost their minds. It was ghoulish. Her family tried to keep her identity secret as long as they could, and in the process of keeping it secret, these DEI guys on the right rushed out and identified a transgender helicopter pilot and said this was the helicopter pilot, and it was DEI that killed it. Well, turns out that pilot's still alive, came out and said so they waited to find out it's lesbian, and see, it's DEI, it's DEI. If DEI is your immediate thing to run to in every situation, it's probably not, you're probably overplaying your hand. It reminds me of Boeing. The Boeing crash immediately, DEI, and I know a lot of Boeing engineers. I am on the radio in several of their markets, and I've talked to Boeing engineers, and every single one of them told me DEI is something that they deal with, but it wasn't the problem. It was the accountants, the bean counters in charge. But yet people on the right dogmatically insist it must be DEI. This particular woman had been a helicopter pilot for a number of years, was certified and trained, better able to fly helicopters than probably most of you listening. Clearly a mistake happened. We don't know who was in charge on the helicopter. We don't know who was flying. We don't know who was making the calls. And it's just really ghoulish of people to immediately come out and blame this woman who is now dead and can't defend herself. We don't know who of the 3 in the helicopter was actually flying. We know it was a training mission. There's still a lot we don't know. To rush to say DEI, here's my concern, is that we overplay, and DEI is a winning issue for the right. But when you rush out very ghoulishly and immediately say, oh, well, it's DEI, and it's because this lesbian was a helicopter pilot, and we shouldn't have lesbian helicopter pilots. Well, first you blame the trans pilot. You just want to blame DEI. You blame DEI for the air traffic control. Now you're blaming DEI here. DEI is kind of your thing that you blame. It's like the left blames Trump for everything. The right now blames DEI for everything. In some cases, yeah, it's a problem. It certainly is a problem with the FAA. It's just, there are dead people. None of them deserve to die. There was a terrible accident. And rushing to blame a woman because she happened to be on the helicopter that is now dead is the sign of a broken, demented soul. Understand, I agree with you that DEI is a problem. But when it becomes the thing you blame everything on, I mean, I'm really surprised someone hasn't come out and said, I wonder if these pilots were vaccinated. I mean, we went from that to DEI for the cause of everything. It's just, there's got to be some sanity along the way. This is just gross to do. It's gross. You don't actually know whose hand was on the stick. You don't actually know why the mistake was made. You don't know anything, but because of the sexuality of the pilot, you want to blame DEI. That actually is a damning indictment on your character, not on the pilot who is now dead and can't defend herself. Is it any wonder her family fought to try to keep her identity private? Is it any wonder they knew what would happen on the internet, and sure enough, it did. Now, before I go on anything else, let me get Gary's phone call here. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Great. So what's up, Gary?
Okay. Well, I wanted to tell you I'm a retired air traffic controller. I worked here in Atlanta for 25 years. After I retired, I went over to Afghanistan with a group of about 12 guys to set up the entire air traffic control system in a country that had none. It was basically see and be seen over there, and at night everything shut down because it's hard to see at night. The one thing I military and civilian interpretation of the same basic rules. And it caused more than a little consternation while working over there. Since it was a situation where there was an Air Force contract, it finally got down to, since it's our contract, you're going to follow our rules or you just don't do it at all. But yeah, there is, since the environment for flying in a combat area is quite a bit different than that of flying, in the civilian area, then there's a feeling that perhaps since the controllers, civilian controllers have never been rarely have they been in a combat situation, that we actually know better than they do, even though it's not in the combat situation at the present time. It got to the point where the things that they were doing just to be sure to tell them, to let everyone know that the military was in charge, really got to be so frustrating.
I bet so. So, Gary, real quick, I got to let you go because I got an ad break coming up. But is it true that being an FAA air traffic controller is as stressful as everyone says?
Okay, well, how about the phrase "never a dull moment"?
I think that says it all.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, absolutely. You don't have to worry about boredom, and every day it's a different scenario. And I guess it all comes down to ready or not, here they come.
My goodness. All right, Gary, I got to leave you there. Thank you so much. Folks, I got to tell you about the great classes at Hillsdale College. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com today, you can take one of them for free. They've got over 40 to choose from, and they've asked me to specifically highlight two of them that just happen to be two of my favorites. One is Genesis, and it is a walk through the book of Genesis from a literary perspective and also a theological perspective. It's a fun class to take. Each lecture is about 30 minutes. It varies. I forget how many there are. I think 7 with the Genesis one. With the Constitution 101, I think there are 12. But each lecture is about 30 minutes. You do it at your own pace, and it's great. All you have to do is go to ericforhillsdale.com today, ericforhillsdale.com. There is no charge for this. It's a great way to kind of get involved with Hillsdale, see what it's like. All the professors are very good. The Constitution 101 one is a fun one to take, particularly if you're a lawyer, because it kind of reminds you some of the aspects of the Constitution you may have forgotten in law school. And the Genesis one, as someone who's been to the seminary, I just found it deeply rewarding to take. Go to ericforhillsdale.com today, ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. There is no charge. Sign up. Take your pick today. There's also a great one on C.S. Lewis that I highly recommend.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear. It's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1252 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still seeing the brake lights in northern Gwinnett County with this right lane crash. 85 southbound, Gravel Springs Road, exit 118. You're slow back for about a mile or so toward Hamilton Mill Road. On the south side, still seeing the delays on 285 eastbound, the outer loop, the ramp to I-75 southbound down there in Clayton County. And construction continues. Left lane of the I-20 eastbound collector distributor ramp into cab between 285 and Wesley Chapel, causing ramping delays from 285 both north and southbound there. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Hey, we're looking for a home for Sherry. Chris Chandler here from Atlanta's Morning News. Sherry's our first WSB Dog of the Month. With Paws Atlanta, we're looking for Sherry's new family. She is 4. She's cuddly and curious. Meet her at WSBRadio.com/dog. Our sponsor, Finley Roofing, will pay the adoption fee too. Have a look. WSBRadio.com/dog.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, for rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place, you know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? but I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on Portfolio X-ray, or click on Full Retirement Plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
The Scott Antique Markets is back at the Atlanta Expo Center, featuring hundreds of vendors with collectibles and merchandise from all over the world. We're on both sides of I-285, exit 55 on Jonesboro Road. Visit ScottAntiqueMarket.com for more information.
If you're seeing cracks in the walls upstairs, downstairs, or outside, maybe even a door not closing, call the Foundation Repair Specialist. Hi, it's Mark Beckham here with Atlanta Ramjack, and we are your leading foundation repair experts. Set up your free estimate right now at AtlantaRamjack.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 doorbell. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
You get up every morning and make it all work. You make the hospitals and the labs work. You keep the shelves stocked, the cash registers ringing, the production lines producing. At Vestas, we have the uniforms and workplace supplies you need to do what you do every day. When you think uniforms, floor mats, first aid kits, restroom supplies, think Vestas. Vestas, uniforms and workplace supplies for the people who make it all work. Learn more at Vestas.com.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Just joined us? Check out the Eric Erickson Show 24/7 stream on the Odyssey app, available for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Be patient on the phones. This is a short segment. I don't have time for you, but I'll get to you. I promise. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you are in the opportunity zone right now, you're seeing real opportunities with the current economic climate out there. Well, First Liberty might be able to help your business grow. If you need access to capital, like $250,000 or more, reach out to First Liberty Building and Loan. They help businesses in all 50 states. And by the way, they've been with us since the 90s, and it's the same family doing it, so you don't have to worry about your lender constantly changing. FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. See if you're fit for them. See if they're fit for you. When we come back, the Democrats have learned nothing. They've forgotten nothing. They've learned nothing. They are literally explaining their loss in 2024 as racism. Of USAID, which is a worthy demolition.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. The Atlanta City Council meeting, and they could decide to hold all clearing of homeless encampments. We'll be watching this after a man was killed during a clearing last month. The funeral for Cornelius Taylor today, and the service being held at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Elizabeth Omalami says the city must abolish the practice of clearing out homeless like trash.
This inhumane way of handling God's children. We're not talking about 30 days or 45 days. We're talking about not no more ever.
And Taylor's funeral again was at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Your weather for today, it's going to be beautiful, mostly sunny, warm, highs around 70, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast straight ahead. Now the latest on the trade wars, Canadians are standing by their government and intent on imposing retaliatory tariffs if the U.S. goes ahead and imposes the 25% tariff on goods. This man plans a boycott on some American goods.
We all have to do our part to support Canada, so from now on, I guess I'll buy Canadian whiskey.
Now, Trump expects to talk with Canada at 3 this afternoon. President Trump and Mexico's leader talked earlier today, and the tariff on Mexico is now on hold for 30 days. Mexico will send 10,000 soldiers to the border with the U.S. The president announcing this weekend extraordinary new tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. The 25% U.S. tariffs on Mexico have been set to take effect at midnight, but again, they are on hold now for 30 days. Roswell welcoming a new company poised to bring millions in investment and about 100 jobs to the city.
PBS Aerospace has chosen the city of Roswell for its new North American headquarters. The company will produce what it calls the most advanced small turbojet engines to meet the needs of the U.S. Department of Defense. Roswell Mayor Kurt Wilson.
This represents a tremendous opportunity for our local workforce and reinforces Roswell's reputation as a premier destination for high-paying, high-tech jobs.
The company is investing $20 million in the project. Lisa Nicholas, 95.5 WSB.
There's going to be a town hall meeting tonight for Forsyth County. It's concerning the ongoing repair work to a major interchange on Georgia 400. Forsyth County government spokesman Russell Brown says the town hall relates to repairs on that interchange.
The interchange at from 369 to 400 is a relatively new interchange. That overpass is a part of the widening of SR 369 there north Forsyth, which is really one of the more well-traveled routes in Forsyth County, especially on the northern end.
And repair to that bridge has extended the project by up to a year. The town hall set for 6 o'clock tonight at Brownsbridge Church. Officials hoping to answer the public's questions about the repair work and whether the extension of this project is going to impact tax dollars. As we take a look at the markets, the Dow's down 179 at 44,364. NASDAQ is also down more than a full percent, and the S&P is down almost 1%. It's 103.
Guys, it's Eric. You've heard President Trump. He wants tariffs, not just on China, but on a lot of trading partners. You know what that's going to mean? Technology purchases, they're going to be going up. Why? Because so much of the computer components are manufactured in countries that are going to see the tariffs. So start insulating yourself from increased costs now. Reach out to Vision Computer, 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Let them get building on your technology. Let them help you plan out to tariff-proof your business by insulating yourself from those increased costs. Vision Computer can help you. And not only that, if you call them at 404-COMPUTE, you get their 5-star customer service, and you get it for free. You don't have to pay because you got your computer from Vision Computers, and they build great bleeding-edge machines. They'll take care of you. They'll help you navigate the upside-down world we may be expecting with the economics to come, and they'll make sure your computer and your company up and running. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation. Call 800-935-6077. 800-935-6077. 800-935-6077. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you heading out of town? Barlow Lexus of South Atlanta offers complimentary airport parking for their service guests. Let them care for your Lexus while you travel. Call 1-800-NEW-LEXUS to schedule your service appointment and utilize their airport parking concierge service.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. We recently received a call from an injured person. The insurance company had offered them $11,000. We took the case over and got more than $2 million in court. Morgan & Morgan.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather, Alex Williams.
Still slow, northern Gwinnett County, right lane crash, 85 southbound, Gravel Springs Road, exit number 118. If you're the impatient type, you can always use Highway 124. And we've still seen that slow zone in Clayton County. It's the 285 eastbound outer loop ramp to I-75 southbound. Haven't gotten reports of any crash, just slow making your way over in those right lanes from Riverdale Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Mostly sunny today, high near 70. That's about 15 degrees above average for today. Lows tonight in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 74. Wednesday, partly cloudy, morning low 50. Afternoon, high 75.
More news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Breaking news, Donald Trump has just been seen in the White House with a small child taking a picture and did not try to sniff or bite her. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. We must discuss the Democrats. So I actually, let me shake this up a little bit from where I was going to. Let me just start with this headline from the New York Times. We have no coherent message. Democrats struggle to oppose Trump. Again, it's really important. We need to start with Reed Epstein's story here, Lisa Lair. The title, and it's based on a quote. We have no coherent message. Democrats struggle to oppose Trump. Subtitle, more than 50 interviews with Democratic leaders revealed a party struggling to decide what it believes in, what issues to prioritize, and how to confront an aggressive right-wing administration. They had their public meeting. They elected Ken Martin of Minnesota. They also named David Hogg as their vice chair. Now, David Hogg is actually a dim-witted adult whose claim to fame is he was a Parkland High School student. And the thing that you have to understand about this is that there were two public figures who came out of this, Kyle Kushov and David Hogg. David Hogg is a reliable anti-gun progressive, and Kyle was not. Kyle was actually smart and had good grades. David Hogg was a dolt. David Hogg was able to get into the Ivy League by being a reliable progressive. Kyle turned out to be a conservative, and he was admitted when they found out he was a conservative, they booted him. David Hogg, spectacularly unaccomplished at anything other than being a victim, has risen through the ranks of the Democratic National Committee to become vice chair. His famous tweets include defunding the police. Abraham Lincoln was a good guy until the mob piled on him and he decided it turned out Abraham Lincoln was a bad guy. And his declaration that he doesn't understand people want kids, that Porsches don't talk back to you and want things. He wanted fancy cars and a nice lifestyle, not kids. This is the Democratic Party. Here is the chairman, the outgoing, the former chairman, now Jamie Harrison of South Carolina. Just listen to this. This is just bizarre.
Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 officers must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous elections, our elected officers at this point are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must add 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
What? 1 person of any gender? This confused him.
We're going to we're finding out ways to expedite this. Because of our gender balance provisions on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. Okay? So on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. If 2 candidates receive, I'm going to turn to Helen to clarify this last part.
You are in this next ballot where you have 2 votes. As the chair has said, you may vote for 2 males, 2 females, 2 of any gender, okay? Nope, you can't do that because we've got to balance. You could vote for 1 of any gender, okay? Or no, non-binary gender, excuse me. It is late.
They don't even know. They have no idea. This is the Democratic Party. They're so into you got to have a male, you got to have a female, you got to have a male or a female who identifies as neither male nor female to be able to balance. And then you got one of these candidates. Listen to this one.
Hello, Democrats. Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
They even started with a land acknowledgement. The land they were on was the Hokum Totem Wapum Musum Mawawawa tribe or some such. These people have lost their minds. And of course, there was David Hogg.
Are you ready to go on the offense? Yeah! Are you ready to go on the offense? Yeah! We have to win back our young people. I am the only candidate in this race for any of these positions that is under 30. We had a 20-point shift to the right of our young people. We must show our young people we give a damn about them, that we support them, and we invest in them. I have raised over $11 million in the past year to support the future of our party, because I don't just tweet, I don't just talk the talk, I also walk the walk, and I knock the knock in doors across the country, but I'm counting on you in this moment right now. I need your support.
Can I just say, Democrats lost young men, and these are the young men and the older men that Democrats think can get back the young men? This is kind of wild, actually, that they think these people will get them back in power. Here's the New York Times. In private meetings and at public events, elected Democrats appear leaderless, rudderless, and divided. They disagree over how often and how stridently to oppose Mr. Trump. They have no shared understanding of why they lost the election, never mind how they can win the future. And in a first step towards elevating new leaders, an election this weekend for chair of the Democratic National Committee, the party chose a candidate, Ken Martin of Minnesota, who said he planned to conduct a post-election review largely focused on tactics and messaging. Mr. Martin said he's not determined the parameters of the review other than he was not interested in discussing whether former President Biden should have sought re-election. More than 50 interviews with Democratic leaders revealed a party that's struggling to define what it stands for, what issues to prioritize, and how to confront a Trump administration that is carrying out a right-wing agenda with head-spinning speed. Their concerns are spilling over to public as the country's most powerful and prominent Democratic politicians air sharp disagreements over how aggressively they should oppose Mr. Trump. I gotta play you just some audio here. This is the This is the DNC chair. I don't have a video on this one. I just have this audio. You gotta listen to this.
Ja, det er så. Tror jeg egentlig en slet. Og lukker jeg det tror jeg så er jeg sådan at kom betyder sklige bekeja. Na kosten vil jeg give bare her der needs in. Welcome. The Democratic National Committee wishes to acknowledge that we gather together to state our values on lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and the descendants of tribal nations who have been here since time immemorial. We honor the communities native to this continent and recognize that our country was built on indigenous lands and hope.
They're still doing the stolen land stuff to start their meetings. It's just, this is so insane to me that this is where the Democrats are. Here's another.
In this round, so I'm going to have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
Every single one of them raises.
Okay.
Now, here's what you don't see. The Democratic Party, at their meeting to pick their new chairman, had 3 moderators for their meeting, all 3 of whom were from MSNBC. 3 moderators from MSNBC. All of them agreed racism and misogyny was to blame for their loss in 2024. The new chairman of the Democratic Party does not want to assess whether Joe Biden's departure earlier in the race would have improved their chances, nor does he want to assess whether Kamala Harris was actually a good candidate or not. They believe they have a messaging problem as opposed to an issues problem. They double down on effeminate, weak men like Tim Walz. Instead of strong men, they still believe that any form of masculinity is toxic and anathema to the party. Like David, I had no idea David Hogg was even straight. I gotta tell you that in all seriousness, that's how effeminate David Hogg comes across. He apparently referenced himself as a straight dude. I had no idea. This is part of the problem for the Democratic Party. They don't have strong men, they have weak men. They are more interested in women who inject testosterone than they are with men who have natural testosterone. They are out of touch with the American public. They exist in a bubble, so much so that they thought it was perfectly fine to have 3 moderators from MSNBC try to guide their conference, where they picked a chair from Minnesota after Tim Walz was rejected by the voters nationally, and they picked a tried and true progressive. They're not walking away from progressivism. In fact, they're doubling down on progressivism. They have alienated black and Hispanic voters with their wokeness, and they've just decided to double down. And here's the thing that the Democrats can probably take some solace in. They might actually have a good midterm election, but that will actually be dangerous for the Democrats. If we get to the midterm elections next year and the Democrats pick up seats and take the House, they probably won't take the Senate, but if they take the House, they might decide that everything is fine, that wokeism works. And all it will be is the typical midterm election where the party out of power does well. And in fact, Donald Trump, his voters tend to show up in presidential years. They don't tend to show up in non-presidential years. They'll have misread the room yet again. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I actually think that having 2 parties that are sane help each other with diametrically opposed views. But the Democratic Party isn't a sane party. It's a sick party. It's not a healthy party. It's doubling down on all the things that cost them the middle class and the working class and black voters and Hispanic voters. They're catering to neurotic white women and gay men, which is to blame. Remember, after the election is over, a well-known Democratic strategist, every single one of you would know, told me part of the problem for the Democratic Party is that it's hijacked by neurotic white women and wealthy gay men, and that they've alienated themselves from everyone else. And who do you have moderating? 3 hosts from MSNBC. You got a bunch of people on stage, a bunch of neurotic white women who insist that you've got to divide up your votes in gender-neutral ways, so you have men and women and non-binary people represented in the Democratic Party. You got to represent everybody. It can't just be the best people on stage. It's got to be everybody. It is where DEI is to blame. It is where DEI has come home to roost and rotting the brains of Democrats and destroying their ability to relate to anybody. This is a party without a leader and without a message. But not only that, they've convinced themselves if they just learn to talk to people, people will embrace their issues. But when your message is bad, how you message it doesn't matter. When your issues alienate people, it doesn't matter how you talk about those issues. People realize you're alienating them. Trump may have handed them a gift with tariffs, maybe, except many of the Democrats actually privately embrace tariffs too. Bernie Sanders, big champion of tariffs. But when you don't sound like an American, you sound like someone apologizing for America all the time, and you're sorry. You still believe the nation is systemically racist. You still believe the nation is bad, and you still believe boys can become girls and should be able to be in girls' sports. You haven't learned a lesson from 2024, and you're just going to keep getting beat. Now, the Democrats have 4 years until another presidential election. They have time to find a leader, but it seems like anyone who steps forward and tells them the truth is going to be someone the party disowns, because the party has doubled down on progressive dogma. It's why they lost in 2024, that and their inability to stand up and push Joe Biden aside, and the fact that they wish to have no accountability within the party for anyone who stood up and covered for Joe Biden. In fact, you had on stage Voices, MSNBC hosts who protected Joe Biden. They're not going to learn anything. They're just going to keep getting beat, and I'm okay with that.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
121 Cool Bay Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Crash still working in the right lane in Gwinnett, 85 South Gravel Springs Road, exit number 118. So just be mindful of that. Stay to the left. Gwinnett County Police tweeting out that Ross Road at Stone Mountain Highway is shut down due to wires in the roadway. So plan your alternates there. That's east of Stone Mountain. This report brought to you by Lear Capital. Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free Sky High Silver Report and Precious Metals IRA guide at betternestegg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
All the notifications you need.
The story developing in Marietta.
All the local and breaking news alerts you need.
We're following breaking news in Atlanta.
All in one place.
The 95.5 WSB app.
Download it today.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building a Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations ever guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell.
And I'm Monica Pearson. Dale and I have worked together for years, first at WSB, and today helping you find Georgia's best companies and sharing why they're the best. Yes.
Monica, one of the first companies I researched and recommended is Amco Transmissions and Total Car Care. For more than a dozen years, they've consistently met my 7-point standard and honored my Make It Right guarantee. And I know you believe in Amco just as much as I do.